Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our evening Shabbat class, the 8th of July, 2023. We'll be picking up where we left off from Friday and this morning Sabbath class about all about Sir Francis Bacon. We'll close it out. Let everybody know you can go to our YouTube channel and check out our videos. Prophets of Awakening, we have a lot of videos. A lot of information is given through the videos. So to connect dots for you and lead you into the truth. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And for anyone that feel the need to support the channel, the information is at the bottom of the screen. Okay, so this is a non-Messianic channel. Okay, and by that we mean that we're going to deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, and the Torah being the first 5 books of the Old Testament that were given to Moses by the Lord host. Shalom and welcome to Prophets of Awakening, and welcome to our evening Shabbat class. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, to our evening Sabbath prayer. We will read the Psalms, do some current events, a little need to know information, and we'll open it up for questions, comments, dialogue. Then we'll complete our part 2 on this Sir Francis Bacon and its ties to America and to King James Bible and to us as Israelites. Okay. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto thee. Therefore we come before thee at this hour, seeking thy face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as thy servants, David, Solomon, Samuel, and Hezekiah did, that we may walk before thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. For we desire to walk after thee, O Lord, and to keep your commandments and your testimonies and your statutes with all our heart and soul, and to perform the words of the covenant that was written down by your prophets. O Lord, allow thy face to shine upon thy people. Hear our plea, hear and do, O Lord. Hide not thy face from us any longer, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay. Okay, so read the Psalms right quick. So I'm gonna read Psalm 16. It's David seeks of preservation and blessings. Psalm of David. He says, "Preserve me, O Lord, O God, for in thee do I put my trust. O my soul, thou hast said unto the Lord, thou art my Lord. My goodness extended not to thee, but to the saints that are in the earth, and to the excellence in whom is all my delight. Thy sorrows shall be multiplied that hasten after another God. Their drink offerings of blood will I not offer, nor take up their name into my lips. The Lord is the portion of my inheritance and my cup. Thou maintainest my lot. The lines are fallen upon me in pleasant places. Yea, I have a goodly heritage. I will bless the Lord, who have given me counsel. My reign also instructs me in the night, or night seasons. I have set the Lord always before me, because he is my right hand. I have not been moved. I will not be moved. Therefore my heart is glad, and my glory rejoiceth. My flesh also shall rest in hope, for thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thy Holy One to see corruption. Thou wilt show me the path of life. In thy presence is fullness of joy. At thy right hand there are pleasures forevermore. So that was a psalm of David, right? It's David seeks preservation of his soul. So this psalm is talking about David requesting Most High to maintain him after he passed. So let's look at that. So it says, preserve me, is David talking, preserve me, O God, for in thee do I put my trust. Then he says, O my soul, thou hast said to the Lord, thou art my Lord, my goodness intended not to thee. Then it says, check this out, verse 3, but the saints that are in the earth, that's Ezekiel 37. Remember what Daniel said, the saints of the Most High, the stone that comes, stone at the end that strike the image is the saints. They're going to take the kingdom. So verse 3 says, but the saints that are in the earth, dead and buried, and to the excellency in whom is my delight. So David delighted in these saints. 4, their sorrows shall be multiplied that hasten after another God, that drink offerings of blood. Right here, just killed JC. That drink offerings of blood will not offer, nor take up their name unto my lips. The Lord is the portion of mine inheritance in my cup. Thou maintainest my lot. So what is he talking about? Where he buried it. He maintained his lot. That's what Nehemiah was talking about. Let's look at that right quick. Nehemiah said in first chapter, when he was in Babylon, well, in Persia, it says, it came to pass, let me see if I'm in the right place. Yeah, it came to pass, this is Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 1. It came to pass in the month of Nisan, in the 20th year of Artaxerxes, king, that wine was before him. And I took up the wine and gave it unto the king. Now I had been before time sad in his presence. So Nehemiah is the king's cupbearer. He the one bring him the wine and taste it before anybody else to see if somebody trying to kill him or poison him. So verse 2, wherefore the king said unto me, why is thy countenance sad, seeing thou art not sick? This is nothing else but sorrow of heart. Then was I so afraid, and said unto the king, let the king live forever. Why should here you go right here. Why should not my countenance be sad when the city, that's Jerusalem, the place of my father's sepulchre, so his graves. Just take you right back to Ezekiel 37. They maintain these graves because they know what's been promised to them by the Lord of hosts. So he says in verse 3, and said unto the king, let the king live forever. Why should not my countenance be sad when the city, the place of my father's sepulchre, graves, lie waste, and the gates thereof are consumed with fire? So they was maintaining those graves. When they brought them out of Egypt, and they planted them, reburied them in Jerusalem, and that's their hope, is that they're going to be resurrected in the last days. So if you go back to 16, Psalm 16, it says, verse 5, the Lord is my portion and my inheritance and my cup, and thou maintainest my lot. That's his grave. Let me go one more place, make this plain. So if you go to Isaiah, right? Okay. Go to Isaiah and you'll see. Isaiah chapter 66. It says, verse 66, verse 5. Hear ye the word of the Lord, ye that tremble at his word, your brethren that hated you, that cast you out for my name's sake, said, let the Lord be glorified. So the Lord is Lord of hosts, Michael. But he shall appear to your joy. So Michael going to appear to their joy, and they shall be ashamed. Now here you go. So then when Michael comes, a voice, a shout from the Lord of hosts, a voice from the city, a voice from the temple, a voice from the Lord that rendered recompense to his enemy. So your shout goes to David, his lot where he buried it, to resurrect him. Before Ezekiel 37, you got to resurrect David, the Messiah. That's what that verse is saying. And then it tells you in the next couple of verses. Before she travailed, the woman, all the saints in grave, before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pains came, she was delivered of a man child, David. That's where the shot went, to raise him up. He's leading the army in Ezekiel 37. Verse 8, who have heard such a thing? Who have seen such a thing? Shall the earth, right, that's the woman, be made to bring forth in one day? Or shall a nation, that's all the saints, a nation, the stone, shall the nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth all her children. Yeah, so that's all of forefathers that we read about. And like I said, before he does that, in verse 6, he got to resurrect David first. That's what David is singing about in the Psalm 16. Okay. So with that being said, anybody got a comment? Okay. Got some current events right here.
To worse to, well, getting even worse. Take a look here. Fed officials signals even more interest rate hikes to come. Meeting minutes show. Mortgage rates jump to 6.81% on average, their highest levels of the year. Mortgage rates going even higher. The Fed saying that more rate hikes are coming very soon, making it going to be even worse for the economy and for millions of Americans. You can see headlines here like this: Americans' excess pandemic savings. How many Americans had excess savings? Well, whoever did have excess savings, it's now depleted, the Fed research finds. Economists found that the drawdown in excess savings that spurred demand in the U.S. economy over the last year is now gone. Remember that 2/3 of Americans already live paycheck to paycheck, and now that excess savings that they're saying that people had, that's now gone. You can also see here, workers are still rating their retirement savings at record rates. Yeah, check this out. American workers are dipping into their retirement savings to pay off expenses or, quote, hardship withdrawals. According to a report by Transamerica, the share of workers robbing their future selves remains at an all-time high. They're robbing themselves. 37% of workers have taken a loan or an early withdrawal and or a hardship withdrawal from their 401k, retirement plans, or similar plans, IRA. According to a survey released Thursday by the nonprofit Transamerica Center for Retirement Studies in collaboration with Transamerica Institute. And you think about maybe like countries in Africa who don't even have running water, you know, they're living in shacks, and you know, we're supposed to be much better off than them. We have no savings at all. The majority of Americans, it's and you know, then we're thinking about other problems like Social Security that have less than 10 years to run out of money. Medicare, less than 5 years to run out of money, or about 5 years until it runs out of money. And what does Congress do? They're sitting around on their thumbs. You know, Republicans blaming Democrats, Democrats blaming Republicans, and nothing gets done year after year. And we're just getting closer and closer to the insolvency dates. And, you know, we get some people that say, oh, well, you know, Jimmy, they got several years until they can figure that out. But they really don't, because if they wait until, like, you know, the year before, what happens is that Social Security Trust Fund will have like this much money left, and that basically means there's no money left, okay? And that's a significant problem because, for example, if you've been watching my show, if Social Security gets to the point where there's no money left in the fund or very little money left in the fund, that will mean a 23 to 24% reduction in benefits. If they wait to the point that the Social Security Trust Fund is depleted, then they have to live on only the money that is coming in on a daily or monthly basis. So what that essentially means is that all the money you put in the past is gone.
So based on all that he's saying, the video is talking about how the Fed is intentionally right now orchestrating the crash, knowing all this stuff is manifesting itself. So in order to let it come to a head, they're gonna crash it before it happens. Okay.
Fam, welcome back to the channel. Sorry about the noise, but it is pouring down rain. So I was supposed to be headed out to the thrift store, and I'm just gonna let that slack up before I do. So were you aware that maybe last month in June that the U.S. government agencies were hit with a global cyber attack? And this just did not affect the government agencies, it affected hospitals as well. Well, if you weren't, like I wasn't, let's get into the story. Give it a thumbs up and share it out if you can. It helps the channel. So it says several U.S. federal government agencies have been hit in a global cyber attack by Russian cyber criminals that exploit the vulnerability in widely used software. The U.S. Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency is providing support to several federal agencies that have experienced intrusion, infecting and affecting their Move It applications. The agency's executive assistant director for cybersecurity said in a statement on Thursday. Now, this was a story that's updated in June. So they say that we are working urgently to understand the impact and ensure timely remediation. Aside from U.S. government agencies, several hundred companies and organizations in the U.S. could be affected. It says that the ransomware gang known as CLOP, that is ridiculous, CLOP, C-L-O-P, is known to demand multi-million-dollar ransoms, but no ransom demands have been made for federal agencies. CISA's response comes as Progress Software, the U.S. firm that makes the software exploited by the hackers, said it had discovered a second vulnerability in the code that the company was working to fix. The Department of Energy is among multiple federal agencies breached in the ongoing global hacking campaign, a department spokesperson. While these hacks have not had any significant impacts on federal civilian agencies, the director said, adding that the hackers have been largely opportunistic in using the software flaws to break into networks. The news adds to a growing tally of victims of hacking campaigns that began 2 weeks ago and has hit major U.S. universities and state governments. They said,
so like I said, this is a 1-2 punch. Russia and China and concerted effort to bring this place down. Okay, we got some need to know information right here. Okay.
Are we getting closer to getting reparations? Because 13 GOP House of Representative members came up with this act called No Bailout for Reparations. Now, of course, you guys know there's a lot of conversation going on about giving American descendants of slavery reparations, cash money, among a lot of other things, right? Well, a representative from Texas by the name of Brian Babin, he decided to start this bill, and a lot of other ones came on board. Now, he says this about his bill. American taxpayers shouldn't be forced to pay for radical race-based reparation payments to please the woke left. Now, of course, y'all know we've been hearing the word woke a lot from the right conservatives, and some on the left. Let's just keep it real, right? Now, Brother Phil made a good example by saying, well, when you hear the word woke, it also sounds like they're saying maybe like the N word or something very derogatory. And I totally agree. Erykah Badu also said the same thing when she asked about people attacking the word woke. Well, he also went on to say this: my bill ensures that government entities enacting reparation laws based on race, ethnicity, national origin, or slavery cannot receive federal bailouts. And so I don't know if that bill will pass, even though Republicans, they do hold a majority in the House. It also has to go through the Senate, and all that other stuff. But that's very telling. Now, of course, here, we never say that the Republicans are better. We know that they're not in regards to Black people. But we do tell you that the Democrats pretend to love Black people, but they never legislate specifically for Black people. And so for me, I'm like, I don't have a problem sitting out when it comes to either one of them. Let them fight over that. So we don't have very many friends in Congress at all. But I thought y'all should know that they're trying to get a bill to stop federal bailouts to go into states that may write a check for us. Now tell me what you think of that.
Okay. Anybody got any comments on that?
I haven't heard it, Shalom. I haven't heard of it yet.
Okay. Might want to stretch it out. Okay.
Yes.
We have the Q&A right now. So anybody got any questions or comments about this morning, last night, or anything you came across you want to chop it up? Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody got a comment?
Yes, I know that California is taking the lead and the charge on doing this reparation.
Right.
They are the leading state in doing this.
Right. Yeah, well, they trying to cut it off because they didn't went through pretty much all the process. They at the point now where it looks as if they trying to figure out a way how to do it to implement it, and so that's where these rednecks come in at. They're trying to cut it off. Okay. I think another state that is close to it too is Virginia. I think, yeah, Virginia. Okay. So everybody good on the questions? We're gonna just go back and backtrack a little bit from this morning. When it comes to Sir Francis Bacon, he was we know a lot of people don't know it, but he tied to the King James Bible. He's the one, the little slick reading, the way it reads, and the pronunciations and all that different stuff. Is all came from Bacon. Matter of fact, he's the author of that those fonts or whatever you want to call it, the way people talk, and the way that they wrote the English language. He revived all that and edified it. And so he's a lot of people didn't know that he was tied to Great Britain, right? Then not only that, all this stuff is biblically based and tied to us as Israelites. And not only that, he got a direct connection with Spain and Portugal. When we was reading this morning about the King James Bible, once those so-called 47 men turned their work over to King James, the Bible went to Spain. And like they said, when it came back, to supposedly some supernatural event took place and connected all the dots for and King James came out the way it did. So it's trying to make it look like as if it was a divine intervention. Same thing with the Constitution. Supposedly, Thomas Jefferson and all of them locked the door to the to the room or a chamber where they was at for 2 weeks or so, and they said everything it's like a divine presence came in the room, and and lined all that out for the reason the Constitution came out the way it did. But we know they all dealing with uh, you know, magic and witchcraft and all that, and calling on these wicked ass spirits and stuff. So that's how that came about. And then, like I said, he's also, which is a lot of people don't know, is he's very much tied to America, because the whole thing, how people got here, you know, the dividing up of the land and all that. He already had a plan rolled out, and he carries uh, through people in Spain, Christopher Columbus and all of them, encouraged encouraged them to come here to start the construction of so-called New Atlantis or New Jerusalem. Okay, so I'm gonna play a couple of videos. We're not gonna be on it that long. I'm gonna play some of this information I stopped I stopped the video this morning and didn't play it, but I went back and looked at it. It's important, so I'm gonna play that now. So it'll be known. Okay, this is from the excuse me. It's from the Secrets of America beginnings. Okay.
In the midst of the Masonic square and compass, a symbol that often adorns Masonic tombstones. Known for rejecting the biblical gospels, the Gnostics claimed to be the real Christians, an issue the apostles spoke vehemently against in the New Testament. The Gnostic Gospels have been promoted by writers like Elaine Pagels and celebrities such as Jane Fonda. It was the Gnostic teachings that formed the heart of Dan Brown's blockbuster book, The Da Vinci Code. The Gnostics were known to express a humanistic view of Christ, a view they are said to have exploited for the purpose of justifying their debauchery of women. Hence the tales of Jesus and his alleged relationship with Mary Magdalene, a view often attributed to the Gnostics and repeated in Brown's controversy.
So right on that particular issue right here, so that you'll know, it's said that Jesus, when you understand who he is, it's Caesarian, right? And he was having a relationship with Mary Magdalene. They had kids. So this morning when they brought up the word Rosicrucians, those are descendants from they are descendants from Julius Caesar, not Julius Caesar, but yeah, Julius Caesar was Caesarian father that he had for Cleopatra, and then like you said, he didn't die. You know, he ended up over in Great Britain or wherever you want to say that. But they are the people that's protect. That's supposedly the Grail, the Holy Grail, is that, you know, he had children, and that's who the Rosicrucians are. I could go a little further into that, but it'll come up in the process of time. So that red rose, you see, that's who the Rosicrucians are.
Controversial book. But Masonry's most popular debates, especially with films like National Treasure and books such as The Da Vinci Code, Born in Blood, and Holy Blood, Holy Grail, seem to involve the mysterious Knights Templar, whose connection to Freemasonry is often seen at the Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland's capital city of Edinburgh.
So anybody familiar with the Knights Templar? Know anything about them?
No, sir.
What Knights Templar? You seen the guys with the red cross on the knights with the red cross on the front of their check, front of their vestment?
Yes, sir. Like when they show Sir Lancelot and those.
Right, right. Those are nice,
So
that's
just
nice temples.
okay.
So these were warrior knights. So they was the ones that was during the time of the Crusades. They the ones started the banking system. These Edomites. So they people would come to would journey over to the Holy Land, but there was so much chaos going on, robbers and all that. People was getting robbed. So these knights took over. And people would come and they would deposit their money with them to watch their money while they was there, and control their money. Started writing banknotes and all that. That's how the banking system started through the Knights Templar. So like I said, they're the ones with the Red Cross. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Now I heard that when they created the Knights Templar, it was a lot of criminals and all of this, and the only way that they could get exonerated was by joining that.
Yeah, it was. It's just like Freemasonry. The local chapters you see in your town and all that. They don't have a clue on what's the 33rd. I mean the 30th, 31st, 32nd, 33rd degrees. They way up. They dealing with something else with Satan and Lucifer. But the lower, it's called compartmentalization. The lower ranks of the people, they have no clue what they're doing at the top. So it's the same with that. They would bring these people in at the lower level, but at the top is Edomites where all the money at. But they would bring them in order to get their numbers up, get the organization built up. But at the very top, these Rothschilds and these Edomites, the Oppenheimer and those people. Okay.
A place that not only reveals much about the Templars and Masonry, but within may be secrets to the founding of the New World. But whatever the connection or controversy, most Masons trace their craft back to the mysteries of ancient Egypt.
There it is.
Egypt is like pretty much the proximate fountainhead of all esoteric mystery teaching.
After the example of
So we said go back to Egypt, and it goes back to the esoteric teachers. That's the 200 angels. Enoch tells you that they was teaching. They gave mankind. They taught mankind. They taught these women that they was dealing with. That's where all this coming from these 200 angels. They set all this in motion.
the Egyptian craftsmen, the Masons, carved their own imagery in the great structures of Europe. Secret signs and symbols were embedded into their work, the meaning of which was to be hidden from outsiders.
These were the craft masons who actually built the temples. If you look at European architecture, you know, all those big cathedrals in Europe, Cologne Cathedral in Germany, Notre Dame in Paris, Salisbury Cathedral in England, all those beautiful cathedrals were all built around the 1200s and 1300s. And it was these masons who knew their business, and they wanted to keep their skills secret.
All the great cathedrals of Europe were built by stonemasons who had an understanding of esoteric lore. And they're basically riddles in stone.
When Masons came to America, they practiced their trade in the same way they had in Europe, embedding secret codes within the design and foundation of the American colonies. Some believe this may account for the geographic location of the 5 great Revolutionary War cities.
Right here, I was talking
in
about.
particular, Boston, New York, Baltimore, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. have all been built in perfect alignment along the eastern seaboard.
This is where the 13 colonies was at, right? And so, like they said, all these cities is built off of, demonic or schismatics, whatever you want to call that, in geometry. That's all on the East Coast.
Researcher Jim Allison believes this alignment may be a part of something greater.
Let me say this. I think it is very unlikely that the alignment is coincidental.
According to Allison, the alignment of cities and ancient sites are part of a series of great circles that encompass the earth. These circles are supposedly like lines of power upon which significant sites are built.
The simplest example, the most obvious example of a great circle, though, is the equator, because it runs around the center of the earth. It runs due east-west. Meridians of longitude, which run due north-south through the north and south poles, if you extend it all the way around, those are also great circles because they run through the center of the earth.
Allison claims that mystical sites like the pyramids, Easter Island, the Mayan and Aztec cities are all built upon these great circles. In addition, one of these great circles contains the 5 cities that date back to the era of the American Revolutionary War.
Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Baltimore, New York City, and Boston are in fact aligned. They're fairly close together. The distance from Washington, D.C. to Boston is 400 miles. And as a result of that, you can see the alignment just on a flat map, because the curvature of the earth is not so much over that distance to distort it. But on a three-dimensional map, it's even clearer.
If your goal is to be able to do ambulances and handstands, but you don't.
Is this just a curious coincidence, or could there be some hidden meaning behind it? In the 1920s, an Englishman named Alfred Watkins noted a series of straight tracks or lines upon the Earth's surface that seemed to connect the ancient monuments and holy sites around the world.
What he found was that in a number of cases, a number of these monuments were aligned in dead straight lines that extended from a few miles to, in some cases, many miles. He coined the term ley lines to describe and to explain these alignments. Watkins believed that there are some type of grid lines that run through the earth, lines of energy or magnetism or electromagnetism or some other kind of attraction over the earth. And that's what he described as ley lines. Watkins believed that the builders of these sites were aware of these lines that ran through the earth, and that they intentionally built these monuments on these lines.
While Watkins' findings were not openly received by all, his views have been most often embraced by members of the esoteric community.
In the occult, there's this concept of ley lines, L-E-Y, which are lines of force that some people say are like the acupuncture points of the earth. And you always want to build things on a ley line. All of the great cathedrals of Europe are built upon these ley lines, which are like currents of power.
These currents of power are thought to have magical significance. Some believe they act as portals for spirits to travel to and from the ancient monuments that fall within these alignments. But the question remains, were such power lines important to the builders of early American cities? Were they aligned with a secret purpose in mind?
That's very important, where the pyramid of Khufu is built, the Great Pyramid. And it's very important where Stonehenge is built.
There are several great circles that ancient monuments are aligned with. And in some cases, ancient and modern development is aligned with. Extending the alignment from Boston to the northeast towards Europe, the alignment crosses over the Atlantic and crosses into England and crosses over Stonehenge, which of course is one of the more significant monuments, certainly in England and arguably anywhere.
Can it be coincidental that the early colonists built these 5 cities in perfect alignment with each other and in perfect alignment with Stonehenge? Allison admits that many of the ancient monuments are aligned on ley lines or great circles within a fraction of 1 degree, a distance that sometimes equals 15 or 20 miles. But in the link between the old world and the new, there is a zero deviation between the 5 American cities and England's mysterious Stonehenge. According to Allison, they are perfectly aligned.
So we see right here, like I said, we see now what it's what Enoch told us. We see it come into play. Where else would they get that information except from these fallen angels? That's where it comes from. So anyway, when you look at that and you understand it, now you see what's going on with it. We know that the angel Michael and several other angels came to Sodom and Gomorrah to destroy it. And like I was saying, if you did the research, you would know that they had an eclipse in 2017, and that eclipse made a line all the way across the same area right here, where these 5 wicked ass cities at that they came here and built in the beginning. That's the source behind everything that happened in America. How it's got its power and all that. So, like I said, in 2017, it became the eclipse put a line across it. So in 2024, next year, it's gonna make an X. It's almost like marking that place out. And then when you go like I said, I talked about this stuff. So when you go to and do your research, you find out that the money, they predict all this stuff. They got it on the money. So they had Timothy McVeigh, Oklahoma City bombing on the money long before it happened. 9/11, they already had it on the money, engraved in money when they made it, and so they got what they call a water event on the $100 bill. The new $100 bill is showing that New York City and the East Coast gonna get hit with a tsunami, 100-foot tsunami. So guess where that's at? Same place right here. The same 5 wicked ass cities that they set up when they first came here. Judgment. So you think all that stuff is a coincidence? It's not. So yeah, and so when you go back and you look at all that, you can see, like the guy said, they in perfect alignment. There's no deviation, just like the pyramids. It's a higher power. There's, where they getting their understanding from. And that, like I said, that's where these Edomites at. That's when they came here. They're the ones that's dealing with Kabbalah and all this ancient information that's came out of Egypt from fallen angels. They consolidated it and they're using it amongst themselves. We got it. We in the dark. Any comments?
Shalom, everyone. Brother Leonard, what was the name of the video you just played?
It's Secret Mysteries of America's Beginnings.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it's got that's about what I'm playing is bits and pieces out of volume 1. I think it's got 3 volumes. It's got 3 volumes to it, 3 hours a piece. Matter of fact, I got this a long time ago on it's called, another part of that is tied to it is Riddles in Stone. It's a DVD set you can get called. You can get the one Secret Mysteries. You can get it in a DVD set, and you can get Riddles in Stone in a DVD set. So they probably jacked the price up by now, though. But anyway, yeah. So I got one more to play. This is just tied. This information right here is time exposing Sir Francis Bacon to the King James. Okay. Okay.
Hey folks, and welcome to another video from A Plain Truth. Well, it's time for me to get my head bashed. Coalition of peeps here watching this, because we need to bring light some other evidence showing that the Bible, when everybody talks, they talk about the Bible. The King James Version is generally what they're referring to. Has anybody gotten into who made the King James Version Bible? Why did they make the King James Bible? Why is it the authorized version, which is the first English translation of the Christian Bible for the Church of England, begun in 1604, completed in 1611? 1611, 711, 6 plus 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 911. All the sacred numbers are there, secret societies. The books of King James Version include 39 books of the Old Testament, an intertestamental section containing 14 books of the Apocrypha, and the 27 books of the New Testament. The Apocrypha is 20 lost Bibles, or 20 Bibles that were not included, including the Nag Hammadi Bibles, including the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Ethiopian Bible, the Geneva Bible. There's over 20 to 30 Bibles, folks, but they talk about the Bible, and this is the one they're talking about. So it was printed by Robert Barker, the King's printer. He was the third translation in the English approved by the English church authorities. The first had been the Great Bible, commissioned by the reign of King Henry VIII in 1535. And the second had been the Bishops of Bibles, commissioned by the reign of the Queen of England in 1568. In 1604, King James convened the Hampton Court Conference, where a new English version was conceived in response to the problems of the earlier translations perceived by the Puritans, a faction of the Church of England. The translation is noted for its, quote, majesty of style, end quote, and has been described as one of the most important books in the English culture and the driving force in the shaping of the English-speaking word. A big deal. By the first half of the 18th century, the authorized version had become effectively unchallenged as the English translation used in Anglican and English Protestant churches. All right, so let's get a little more into King James here. King James VI and 1. At 57 years and 246 days, James' reign in Scotland, where's Trump from? Scotland, was longer than those of any of the predecessors. He achieved most of his aims in Scotland, but faced great difficulties in England, including the gunpowder plot in 1605. That's the movie V for Vendetta. It was all about the gunpowder plot by the Jesuits. Please watch it and learn. And repeated conflicts with the English Parliament. Under James, the, quote, golden age of Elizabethan literature and drama continued with writers such as William Shakespeare, John Donne, Ben Jonson, and Sir Francis Bacon. He sponsored King James sponsored the translation of the Bible in English that would later be named after him, the Authorized King James Version. So here we see that this was from 1597. King James' visit to Denmark, a country familiar with witch hunts, sparked an interest in the study of witchcraft, which he considered a branch of theology. He attended the North Berwick witch trials, the first major persecution of witches in Scotland under the Witchcraft Act of 1563. Several people were convicted of using witchcraft to send storms against James' ships, most notably Agnes Sampson. James became obsessed with the threat posed by witches and wrote a demonologue in 1597, a tract inspired by his personal involvement that opposed the practice of witchcraft and that provided background material for Shakespeare's tragedy of Macbeth. James personally supervised the torture of women accused of being witches. Let's read that again. King James, who wrote the King James Bible version allegedly, personally supervised the torture of women accused of being witches. Wikipedia cannot be wrong. All right, so let's get into Francis Bacon and the King James Bible. The 1611 King James Bible is ornamented with Bacon's symbols, and in my own special copy of the record edition, also dated 1611, these symbols are Rosicrucianly marked to call the attention of the initiated to them, and to tell them that the 1611 Bible is without possibility of doubt one of Bacon's books. When Bacon was born, English as a literary language did not exist, but once he died, he had succeeded in making the English language the noblest vehicle of thought ever possessed by mankind. This he accomplished merely by his Bible and his Shakespeare, Edward D. Lawrence. There's more. The first edition of the King James Bible, which was edited by Francis Bacon and prepared under Masonic supervision, bears more Mason's marks than the Cathedral of Strasbourg. This was Manly Hall, who was himself a 33-degree Freemason, that he made in a lecture of the Rosicrucian and Masonic origins of 1929. This is by A.E. Loosley. I own a set of Encyclopedia Americana 1941, which was the counterpart of the Britannica in size and number of volumes. Under Bacon, I find a generous 4-page article from Harvard University that mentioned Bacon's full literary activities, but not a word on the Holy Bible. Exactly. Then under, quote, Holy Bible, dozens of pages by William Barry Smith, and under King James Version, a record of the 47 translators, including 3 or 4 ancient engraved divines who worked 7 years on the project, but again, no word of Bacon. The revised translation of the Bible was undertaken as a national work. It was carried out under the personal supervision of the king, but every record of the proceedings has disappeared. The British Museum does not contain a manuscript connected with the proceedings of the translators. In the record office have been preserved the original documents referring to important proceedings of that period. The parliamentary, judicial, and municipal records are, on the whole, in a complete condition, but ask for any records connected with the authorized version of the Bible, and the reply is, quote, we have none. And yet it is reasonable to suppose that manuscripts and documents of such importance would be preserved. Where are they to be found? For this new edition of the Bible, he issued a personal set of rules. This is the King James. The translators were to follow and order revisions to proceed, although he never contributed a farthing to its cost. Work began in 1607 and took a committee of 47 men, some say records 54, others say 50, 2 years and 9 months, to rewrite the Bible and make it ready for the press. Each man received 30 shillings per week for his contribution. Upon its completion in 1609, a remarkable event occurred. The translators handed over the reviser's manuscript of what now is called the King James Bible, or the Bible, to King James for his final personal approval. Quote, it was self-evident that James was not competent to check their work and edit it, so he passed the manuscripts on to the greatest genius of all time, Sir Francis Bacon. Bacon was a man of many talents, a lawyer, linguist, and composer. He mastered every subject he undertook: mathematics, geometry, music, poetry, painting, astronomy, classical drama, poetry, philosophy, history, theology, and architecture. Many aims and purposes. He was the father of modern science, the remodeler of modern law, the patron of modern democracy, and possibly the reviver of Freemasonry. Now, there's 2 Freemasonries. There's Scottish Rite Freemasonry and the York Freemasonry. They didn't distinguish which one. His life and works are extensively documented, and his intellectual accomplishments widely recognized, particularly in academic circles. It goes on that he personally recorded that while in Paris, he created a secret cipher system that could be inserted into a document without arousing suspicion. While living in Europe, Francis Bacon was initiated into the mysterious order of the Knights Templar, the Red Cross, and learned a very special secret. Before he returned to London, he traveled to France, Italy, Germany, and Spain, and at the age of 20, completely devoted himself to the study of law. From his understanding of the secret information he had learned during his initiation into the Knights Templar, he conceived the idea of reactivating various secret societies, and in 1580 founded the secret Rosicrucian Literary Society in Gray's Inn. Later in the same year, he founded the Lodge of the Free and Accepted of Speculative Masons, also at Gray's Inn. On June 25th, 1607, Sir Francis Bacon was appointed Solicitor General and Chief Advisor to the Crown. He had presented new ideas to the government for the reformation of the Church and was officially instructed to commence restructuring the Bible. Research in the Records Office of the British Museum revealed that the original documents still exist, which refer to important proceedings associated with Sir Francis Bacon's involvement with the editing of both the Old and New Testaments. They revealed that he personally selected and paid the revisers of the New Testament who completed their task under the instructions of Bacon's longtime friend, Dr. Andrew. The first English language manuscripts of the Bible remained in Bacon's possession for nearly a year during that time.
Okay, so see how much he's involved in it, but when you do research, you don't see no signs of it. Just got to be, just pray about it. And the Most High gonna lead you to the information, but the average person don't know all this stuff. So anyway, what we just seen happen is nothing new, because if you go back to the Septuagint, when you understand what the Septuagint is, that's a Bible that they using when they concocted the King James. So how did the Septuagint come in existence? It was in Egypt. These same people, Edomites, they got 70 men together, so-called Jews, they're not Israelites, and they brought them to Egypt, and they did the Septuagint. That's how they was able to start writing all these books that's in the New Testament. They revived it. They didn't want to deal with the Tanakh in the original language, Hebrew. They wanted to translate it to Greek, because that's who they are. They're Greeks. So they had 70 men, just like they're doing right here. Nothing new. They had 70 men. That's what Septuagint means, 70. So they had 70 men, Edomites, wicked ass men, brought to Alexandria, Egypt, to the library, and they translated the Old Testament Tanakh from Hebrew to the Greek, and that's when all the drama started. Once they got a copy in Greek, they looking at it over and over again, changing it, flipping and switching it and all that. That's how Christianity came about. So this is a prime example right here. I was telling you that in the Pseudepigrapha, volume 2, it's got the ladder to Aurelius. This is when this event happened. I told you about the 70 Edomites. So what I want to show you how profound this is. And what I was telling you about is you got 2 Israels. Around this time right here, you got 2 Israels. You got the Israelites that's been scattered. Daniel chapter 9 and already taken place. The abomination that make it desolate. The Israelites, the true Israelites, been scattered into all 4 corners of the earth, specifically on the west coast of Africa. Then you got the fake Israelites that's in the land. So you got 2 nations of Israel, so calling themselves Israel. And that's where a lot of the drum comes from. So they listed the names of these men right here that went to Egypt, right? We know Israel been scattered. They've been judged. The abomination that make it desolate already happened. Antiochus already came. So here go the names. The names of the men are as follows, right? Bartholomew had this done. From the first tribe, see that? From the first tribe, Joseph, Ezekiel, Zechariah, John, Ezekiel, Joseph. See all these our forefathers' names. But these ain't no real Israelites. Right? Samuel, Judas, Jonathan, all these names, like I said, they came in. Obadiah tells you stolen land by lot, and not only by lot, by the same names of the 12 tribes of Israel, and not only that, they're taking our names and using the names of our forefathers. That's why you got so many people duped today, and they just can't fathom that went down, that happened like that. But that's exactly how it happened. Even to the day, we see the ones that's over there now got our forefathers' names. They got these old weird ass last names, but their first name they got from our forefathers. David and Jacob and all that. Yeah. Any comments on that? So like I said before, I knew a lot of this stuff, but I didn't know until I found out recently, like a couple weeks ago, about Sir Francis Bacon's role in it, and the light bulb went off. So I just waited for a proper time to make some videos out of it, so it'll be accessible to people when they come on Prophets of Awakening. And, we can help or lay a foundation for them. Any comment? Question?
So, Shalom. Um, by them reading off all the things that um, Francis Bacon did and how he was known as the smartest person, he was able to do all these things, getting all these scholarships or all these doctorates. Um, it brings me back to mind of he read the Bible or he read the scrolls uh, of others who put it in, and it's Solomon. Solomon was one of the smartest um, men in the Old Testament by knowing all these things. So to me, once he was giving out all his credentials, it just brought me to Solomon in my theory of maybe we were not there back in that day of him being so smart of everything. That just put me in the mind of Solomon.
Right. So well, how you rightly divide that is, we know Solomon and our forefathers is dealing with righteous angels. These men right here, when you start talking about occultism and understanding dark sentences and all that witchcraft, they summoning demons. So the knowledge they getting is coming from these divine beings, but it's from wicked ones. It's just like the Bible tells you about. Even Michael told Cain that when at the top at the altar when he came up there with his deluded offerings, he told him sin lies at the door. So what is he talking about? These fallen angels, this wicked ass knowledge is lying at the door. So he taught Cain and Tubal Cain how to make weapons of war. That's why these people are the way that they are. So Solomon is wise from the righteous knowledge he got from these angels, these 7 angels that Enoch tells us about. But this man is wise from summoning demons, wicked ass spirits, and then not on top of that, they got our records. They got
Yes, sir.
first our records, yeah.
Yes, sir. That's what I was, you know, in my thoughts that because they have the records and because he read and he saw this, then for my thinking, by them going for him to be a part of, but not mention as the one who wrote anything of the Bible, but having to read up and came across Solomon, I'm thinking, and that's the trickery of the mindset. You know, they
Right.
would do the right, take something right and twist it around for their good, for their, you know, profit or whatever they wanted to do. That, like they say, they're the secret society. So
Right.
what's secret about everything that's going on? They got our books. They have everything that was told and taking things away that didn't fit um, their way of wanting to rule.
Right, exactly. Right. And like I said, when you start talking about when you to get the full understanding of what occultism is, and like I said, these same people was around the Pharaoh, around Nebuchadnezzar, around these kings from back in the day. So they using uh, uh, drug enhancement drugs like the mushrooms. Those priests back during the time of when the Edomites is in the land, they use it goes back to the melanin, which they talk about the dark matter, the melanin, like and the pineal gland. That's what these angels operating out dealing with. When a prophet have dreams and visions, they dealing with the pineal gland and the melanin that's in us. They don't have that. They got calcified pineal glands, and we know they don't have no melanin in them because of their skin. We know what he done to Mary. So they're not able to be taken into these other dimensions. So they go in there by way of these mushrooms and these mind altering drugs. That's how they doing it. All that's wicked as hell. They're not getting they're not having it's not no angel bringing no dream or vision of them. They going taking these substances and going into these other dimensions.
Excuse
Dealing
me,
with these
brother.
demons. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Excuse me, Brother Leonard. So would mandrake be in that concept of mushrooms and everything you're talking about?
What is that, mandrake?
Now, mandrake was in Genesis, and Leah's son, one of Leah's sons, had mandrake in his fields, and Rachel came to Leah to get some of the mandrake. And they're saying that mandrake is like a fertility, almost like a aphrodisiac, if that's the right pronunciation. So I was, when you was calling that off, I thought about that.
Yeah, that's but it goes back to they was in error because of what they wanted to do. She wasn't the Most High. When you understand what's going on, he had Sarah's womb closed. He closed these women's womb, and so back then that was all a woman wanted to do. She didn't feel like she was worth nothing, and she didn't bring forth no kids. So the Most High got her womb closed because it's a time appointed for these kids. Just like when Isaac was born, he opened her womb at the proper time. So Leah wasn't having no, she had kids, but she wanted some more. So she was trying to go and get some drug enhancements to help her conceive. She totally went away from the Lord of hosts and what he's doing, how he operates, waiting on him. So then we go when you read in the Enoch, and it says that what those fallen angels did was the women that they liked that had nice bodies and all that, they was telling them, they was giving them mandrakes and things and a different type of substance to keep them from having kids, to cause them to have abort the kids because they didn't want them to alter their figures. So that's where that's coming in. That's where that's coming from. They had that knowledge. So she wanted to go outside of Israel to be able to conceive instead of within the dictates of what the Lord of hosts is doing. That's what that was about. Okay.
Shalom. Yes, sir. So shalom. So the fallen angels, the 200 fallen angels, the ones that were giving these women the secrets of healing in portions, of secrets of healing with the herbs and everything, to that point where they thought these women were witches and they were crucifying, they were burning them. Um, what to break down the word pharmaceutical, um, all these pills that are being taken for several things to say heal your body, those fallen angels that had that demonic spirit, that those pills that are being described today, some names of those pills are from those fallen angels, those demonic spirits' names. One has to look at all those things to make sure that they're not taking something that is derived from those fallen angels, those demon spirits.
Yeah, that's where it's coming from. So it's a slap in the Most High face. If you go back to the construct of the human body, the human body take care of its own self. So by them coming with all this, you got some things, some stuff that's the Most High, like plants and stuff that it helps in healing people and doing certain things. But a lot of this stuff is slapping the Most High face because you're saying that what he created, the body that he created, it wasn't self-sufficient. Man had to come and make certain drugs and all that to fix the body. The Most High didn't make it where the body can fix its own self. And we see it every day because they might come up with something to help one thing, but it's got 20 side effects. And then the person ended up dying from the side effects from dealing with that pill. So all that stuff is a slap in the Most High face. It's just like I was saying, those fallen angels the children they had. They had one of the number one things they had. They was getting all these different supernatural abilities from these fallen angels when they were born, and particularly their strength, because they were so tall and big, their strength. So that's what kept them from worshiping the Most High. They refused to worship the Most High because of the abilities that they had. They refused to bow down to him, refused to submit to his authority and his law. That's what he's talking about the pride. Og and Bashan, all them different giants. That was a problem. And then when you come to the women, what these angels had interaction with, they taught them this. So what they call it, craft. Same thing as in Egypt, craft. So it's a woman with craft, witchcraft. That's where the word witchcraft come from. They had the craft that these 200 angels originally came down with, because they wasn't dealing with men, they was dealing with women. And they gave them knowledge that man wasn't supposed to have from heaven. And that's how you get the word witchcraft. Okay. But this is my thing. I was talking about it a couple of days ago, how about just look at the Most High's creation. Like, for instance, coral snake. Coral snake, all the colors that he got on him. But he's one of the most poisonous snakes in the world. So you can sit there and bump your gums all you want and say how attractive he is and how good he looks. But all of them, they nature is to bite you. And they're very venomous. So you always hearing people talk about, when you start looking at, it's an invasive species on the planet that came from Cain descendants, that came from the serpent, and the Canaanites came from the fallen angels. So you can't say, oh, some of them good. Then when you look at all the stuff, the information we're getting, it's wicked as hell. It's like a lion, a tiger, or a bear. If you come face to face with him in the wilderness, that's what's in his nature is to go at you and kill you. So you can't say, oh, he look good or this and that. Some of them good and some of them might. No, in nature is they're gonna kill you. It's like the coral snake. Damn all the colors that's on him. If you pick him up or you come in contact with him, he's gonna bite you. So it's the same thing with that. That's how we've been hoodwinked. We're not looking at things the way you're supposed to look at it. Cain, it says that Cain is the son of the serpent. The serpent is wicked as hell. So his nature, his construct, how he made his molecular makeup, is he wicked as hell. And anything else that came from that, you can't say, oh, some of it good and some of it ain't. It's wicked as hell. The Most High himself said, don't let your sons marry their daughters, and don't let your daughters marry their sons. He didn't say, let your son marry some of them. No, he said, don't let your sons marry their daughters, and don't let your daughters marry their sons. For what? Why? Because of their molecular makeup, who they are. And that's what we done got tricked off at. We want to keep on trying to make something good that's wicked as hell. And all you got to do is look at the track record. Okay. Any comments or anything before we go? I hope somebody learned something out of this or got some understanding out of it.
Yes, sir. I did.
Okay. So everybody good?
Yes, sir. Every session. Thank you for your wisdom, knowledge, and you make it understandable. Bless you.
Okay. Appreciate that. Let's say shalom, everybody. I'll see y'all Tuesday night for our advanced Bible study.
Shalom, everyone.
Okay.
Shalom, everyone.
Okay.
Shalom. Hallelujah. Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.